My next guest is one of the senior directors here at NetApp. He covers AI, virtualization, many other things, the solutions for them. Mr. Russell Fishman. Russell, thanks for joining, man.
Nick, pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, I can hear you just about. It's a bit loud in here, but that's not a bad thing, is it?
Oh, that's what we wanted. It's a party in here. If you look behind us, there are thousands of people that have come down onto the expo at this point.
A bunch of techies, good food. I saw a sushi burrito earlier, wine pouring. What more could you ask for?
A great keynote.
A great keynote,
preceded by
wasn't
a great
it?
Keynote. I thought the conversation with, I really liked Chris's presentation.
Yeah.
It really, because I'm a technical guy. But I really liked the way he navigated that story of how you can use classification and really bring this data curation story to life.
Yeah.
I'm curious to get your thoughts on this as well, because how do we get, from a solutions standpoint, how do we take the ONTAP as a product, as a data storage juggernaut, and then wrap solutions around that to enable a lot of the things that Chris was describing?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, as you know, we've been doing this AI thing for many years, right?
Yeah.
So I think probably 7 years.
In 2016, the ONTAP AI launched.
Yeah. And listen, we've got hundreds of customers that run us in production for AI use cases. And what does that really mean? Well, look, we don't just expect people to take our products and just kind of throw them in and hope for the best. We help them, right?
Yeah.
We give them prescriptive guidance on how to get the most out of the stuff. We don't want people kind of guessing. We want people getting the right answer. And so that's really where our relationship with NVIDIA started. So take it back, 7 years, and, NVIDIA was, as a pioneer, had recognized really early that, data and storage is really important to their mission. Data's the fuel. We like to say data's the fuel that drives the AI engine.
Right.
I know, a bit cheesy. I'm sorry about that. But you get the general gist, right?
Yeah.
So we started investing really early with them, building these sort of these reference architectures. And it started off really as an infrastructure thing, right? How do I build infrastructure that kind of works well together? I don't have to guess. It's just you put it together, and you know what? We've given you prescriptive guidance on how to get it working really well. So that's where it all started. But then, of course, what does infrastructure do by itself? Well, a whole bunch of nothing. Right? You got to build applications on it.
Yeah.
So we started building applications on it. And so we've got this amazingly rich set of applications and ecosystem partners that let us deliver something that's meaningful to a customer. Outcomes, right?
Outcomes.
Not just stuff. Outcomes. Business outcomes. So, I thought Chris did a really good job talking that through, and also painting a bit of a vision for NetApp's part in the future of AI, right? And I'll tell you one thing, I'm clear. NetApp is not the AI company, but we're an accelerant for AI. We make it happen. And you know what? Without folks like us, it really becomes very difficult to make AI a reality.
Well, one of the things that I've told your two predecessors that sat in that chair beforehand was, I have a phrase that I like to throw around: no data, no AI.
Yeah.
So it really becomes that foundational building block that you have to have, and then you have to layer on top of it that layer of curation to be able to take advantage of that. But even then, above and beyond that, you have to build these prescriptive solutions,
yes,
at least to an extent prescriptive,
yes,
that can take advantage of all of that other work that you've already spent the last couple of decades doing.
That's right.
Right? But if you haven't taken the time to do that work, if you haven't gone through that, fret not. ONTAP is here to help. Data classification is now free, right? In case you didn't hear that, data classification in Blue XP is now free to all NetApp customers. So turn it on, get it working for you, get it going in your favor, because some of the solutions that we're bringing to market will take advantage of that classification in a very big way.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Listen, so you said the phrase, hey, there's no data, no AI, and that is true. But you know what's also true? Good quality data.
Yeah.
Right? And the reality is that folks don't really think through that, right? But you know what? If you don't feed like a retrieval augmented generation Gen AI solution the right sort of data, it doesn't know what's good data. It doesn't know what to answer.
Right.
It sees 2 bits of conflicting information. There's no idea. It's giving you the wrong answer. And if you talk about the difference between folks trying out this stuff in a POC context and then putting it into production, especially, we were talking in the keynote about these regulated industries, things like finance, healthcare, et cetera, where you know what? The wrong answer matters.
Yeah.
right? And there was actually, I'll give you a good example. There was, I won't say the airline, I'll spare blushes, right?
Yeah.
But there is an airline, an American airline, that had started using generative AI for customer service use cases. Makes total sense. It's good for a consumer that I can immediately go talk to someone that has the power to do something, even if it's a chatbot. But it doesn't matter. If it answers my question and gets me on my way quicker than waiting 45 minutes on hold, hey, man, that's good, right?
No brainer.
Here's the problem. What happens when it gets it wrong? So this consumer had asked a question about, hey, listen, if I cancel this trip under this set of circumstances, what is going to happen? And the answer, he actually asked, will I get a refund? And you know what? The chatbot said, yeah, you will get a refund. He goes, great. He cancelled. No refund. That's weird, right? So he's like, so eventually he gets to talk to a human. The human goes, no. The chatbot gave you the wrong answer, but sorry, that's our policy. He went, He took him to court. He took him to small claims court, and he won.
Yeah.
So here's the answer, right? The chatbot was an official agent of the company. And there's no excuse of, oh, it made a mistake. Well, guess what? It made a mistake, but it was an official agent of the company. That person took action based on what that agent said, that chatbot said. And that guy won and got his money from this big corporation. These are some of the real-world challenges that people have. So you know what? In that case, that data that was fed into that RAG environment was wrong.
Yeah.
It had conflicting information. The RAG doesn't know any better. It got an old policy. That policy was out of date like 10 years ago, but someone fed it in. You know what? If you don't curate the data, if you don't understand quality, this has real business impact.
Yeah, you have to be stewards. You have to be librarians, for lack of a better word, of everything that you're putting together in your data estate.
Yes.
And I hear data lake and data warehouse and all these things. I think it's an estate. I think that's the word I like to use because it's going to transcend storage systems and clouds and all this stuff. You have to look at it holistically as an estate.
Yeah.
And individual components are going to be bigger than others, and they're going to have different metadata, and they're going to have different curation teams and practices and stuff. There has to be a level of at least connective tissue or standardization around how you're doing all the metadata and all of that stuff. Guys, this stuff is fundamental. If you're managing storage, you're managing data, you should have been doing this stuff already, but if you haven't, don't worry about it. ONTAP's going to help. We're going to help you take care of that. What was the other thing I wanted to bring up with you? I always throw around the phrase ONTAP everywhere.
Yeah.
From a solutions standpoint, what does that mean to the end users? The fact that they can have the same flex and snap words, the same solution architectures, regardless of whether they're on-prem, in the cloud, at an edge, it's still ONTAP at the end of the day. All the APIs are the same. All the Terraform is the same. All of that stuff.
Yeah.
Where do you see that playing out in the solutions side of the world? Especially when we start looking at AI, for example.
I mean, look, it's great to work. I've been worked at NetApp for now almost 10 years, and it's just great to be at a company that's just so far ahead of the rest. I mean, I'm going to say that. I get my paycheck from NetApp every month. But here's the reality, right? We are the only company that has this single operating system that sits everywhere, right? It sits in the cloud. It sits in all three hyperscalers. It comes through all these different form factors on-prem. And you heard other things that were being announced today, or kind of previewed, I should say, that they're going to talk more about in tomorrow's keynote. And by the way, if folks aren't ready, tune in for tomorrow's keynote. It's going to be awesome. There's going to be so much amazing stuff. You're going to hear much more detail than you heard today. You heard kind of some tidbits, like breadcrumbs, maybe you'd say. But you're going to hear a little nuance. So you're going to hear a load more about it tomorrow. But look, what ONTAP Everywhere does is helps our customers in ways that no one else can really help them, because what it does is it recognizes that data isn't in one place neatly tied up in a bow. We all know this. Your data's kind of everywhere. Despite our best efforts, right? The reality is data's everywhere. Now, here's the interesting thing. There was obviously a huge push in the industry to kind of consolidate data into data lakes and data lake houses and warehouses and all the other versions of that that you've heard over the years. And there were some big ones like Hadoop. We all remember Hadoop. Hey, by the way, Hadoop is dead, in case you didn't know, right? I mean, I'm not the first
you heard it here first, folks.
You're not the first man to say that, but Hadoop is definitely dead, right? I hear that a lot, by the way, from our customers. The reality is the types of data we're using for some of these new advances in AI, Nick, are not the same types of data, right? It's actually, it's going after data that you probably didn't have in your data lakehouse before and didn't make sense for a data lakehouse, right? So what we're seeing is, with all this kind of unstructured, especially file data, which is driving this kind of next generation of RAG, how do you manage that? How do you control it? So it's everywhere, right? So that's already difficult, right? And we also, you may have heard during the keynote today, just this idea of how many times data is copied, because you know what, all these different tools, all these different parts of the AI pipeline process, et cetera, wouldn't it be great if, you know what, you could simplify that by having one place to run all of your applications out of with the same corpus. There's another word for you, corpus.
Oh, there we go.
Corpus, you know that? Yeah, Latin.
Yeah, I like that.
Body. Yeah? Corpus of data, right? Wouldn't it be great? And you know what? We can do that. Now, listen, it doesn't mean all the data's in the same place. So what happens if it's in the cloud? Well, guess what? A singular control plane and a consistent data plane. That's what NetApp can do super, super uniquely. And you heard, obviously, today from Microsoft and from AWS. I'm sure we'll hear Google at some point. But the point is, we're the only ones that have that in each of the hyperscalers. And unlike others where, you're talking about marketplace services, you're talking about first-party data services based on ONTAP, that it's getting directly integrated. You heard today from AWS about the integration with Bedrock, where they're directly integrating our ONTAP services into the first-party services. So whatever you do, whether your data is on-prem or the cloud, wherever your AI needs to be, right? Is it on-prem? Is it cloud? You know what? In reality, for most of us, it's hybrid. We can help people. So look, our job for our viewers here and listeners, right? It's all going to be about how they can become AI champions in their organizations, right? And when I think about a champion, I'm thinking about an enabler, right? So most people in our business don't necessarily think of themselves as the people that are pushing AI. They kind of feel a bit reactive. You may even be perceived as someone that's holding back in AI innovation. The early parts of AI were sort of, I would say characterized by boards going to AI practitioners and lines of business saying, hey, here's money, just go do it. And by the way, ignore IT.
Yeah, go build me an AI.
Yeah,
whatever
just go
that
build.
means.
Don't worry about IT. They're going to slow you the hell down. So that's where it all started. But you know what? The reality is that people have started moving to production for these things.
Yeah.
The horror, the realization.
Like the chatbot example you gave,
the
right?
horror, the realization of the impact, and also not being funny. What happens when it goes wrong at 3 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday? Who are they going to call?
Yeah.
You could call Ghostbusters.
One of the things that George brought up during the keynote was access to tools, access to things like that.
Right.
I think that's going to play a big part.
Yeah.
The democratization, if you will, of AI to give more people. It's not going to be some crazy specialty. The fact that, and we saw Satya say something similar in his video, I think the access to the tools and the AIs that are out there, regardless of where they're built, is really going to be foundational as well for a lot of these companies to kind of take a first dip a toe in the water and get used to it before they go in and full on build a RAG environment for all their data ever. Like, they can get comfortable with it, get used to it, eliminate some of that technical debt and skills gap stuff, just so they get comfortable with it. But I can't wait till 5 years from now to see what some of our largest customers, their RAG environments that they've put together using petabytes and petabytes of their own data, may have even more powerful AIs than some of the consumer level ones that are out there now.
Well, they'll be more useful, right?
Yeah.
Because they're going to
for
be
them specifically.
Good for them specifically. So you're going to see a lot more sort of verticalization than you've ever seen before. But yeah, look, I would tend to agree with you. We're just starting on this journey to, that word democratization of AI is probably a little bit overused. We're overusing it now, right? But here's the reality, right? Not every company has the resources or the wherewithal to go and hire a bunch of data scientists, data engineers, if you can find them, which, by the way, you can't. It's funny, I was sitting in my dentist's chair, right? And I always have a little, you want to have a chat with a dentist, right? Because,
I don't.
You don't?
No, I don't like the dentist.
You want to calm down, right? I like to calm down. So I like to calm down, have a chat with the dentist. He's like talking about his son. He's off to university. He's like, he's kind of, what career should he be? And he's like interested in data and computer science. And it was easy, data engineer. I was like, man, you are going to walk into a fantastic job straight away. There aren't enough of you. Yeah. You can be prima donnas. That's the reality, right? You just, you don't like what's happening. You move somewhere else and get more money. No, in all seriousness, look, most of these companies are just going to want to be users, right? They're just going to want to be users or consumers, which means they're not going to be developing. It's kind of like buying Office, Microsoft Office. You don't need to develop Microsoft Office to get the value out of it. So that's where I think, and you're going to hear us talk about that in the next couple of days, right? How do we move from the, hey, AI is accessible to a few few companies that have really invested, to being available to everyone.
Yeah.
So listen, I hope that, the folks that are watching live and if you're listening afterwards and get a chance to go back and listen to the recordings, get to listen to the next couple of days, because I tell you what, you're going to walk away with a lot of very practical experience on how you can become a champion in your own organization.
Yeah. Russell, thank you so much for joining us, man. I really appreciate it, and thank you for making time for us, and a great conversation. I absolutely loved it. Look forward to having you back on the show sometime in the future.
Appreciate it as always. Thanks, Nick.
Well, there we go, guys. Mr. Russell Fishman, he is our Senior Director of Solutions for AI, Virtualization, and many other things. You've probably interacted with Russell at some point if you've been around NetApp for any period of time.